Maliss archetype, known in the Japanese as Maliss with an upside down A, are a series of dark Cyberse-type monsters themed around the world and characters of Alice in Wonderland. But that's not all. They are also spliced with some form of malware, which is revealed by the latter half of their names. The cards made their debut in Deck Build Pack Crossover Breakers. And it is here that I want to go on record by saying I do prefer the original Japanese name of Maliss. It's just super cool, tons of references inside. But I understand why they had to change it for international release. Why is that? Well, first of all, the reason the archetype is called Maliss to begin with is because it's a combination of the words malware and, of course, Alice. Cleverly, when smushing the two names together, you get the word malice. The word malice means a desire to harm someone, and malice is the adjective version of the word malicious. Malware stands for malicious software, which is basically just like viruses and things like that. How cool is that? All those references tucked into just putting the word M at the start of the word Alice. But we're not done. Remember that upside down A? Well, it's symbolic of how when Alice in Wonderland goes to Wonderland, she finds herself in a parallel world where things have essentially turned upside down.
I imagine that right now you're feeling a bit like Alice, tumbling down the rabbit hole.
Fun fact, the very first iteration of Alice in Wonderland was actually a book called Alice's Adventures Underground, which would later be revised and expanded into Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. And then finally, the sequel to Wonderland was a book called Through the Looking Glass. In one book, she goes to a world of playing cards, while in the other book, she goes to a world of chess pieces. Which is obviously the inspiration to this chess and card themed archetype, but also the original book, Tales in Underground, well, it has its own card, Malice in Underground. And also possibly a nod to underground organizations, such as like a group of hackers together. This field spell, by the way, when it is activated, lets you banish one Malice card from your hand, deck, or grave. Then, while you have 3 or more banished Malice traps with different names, Malice Link monsters you control gain 3000 attack. While you control any Malice Link monsters, your opponent's monsters can only target those for attacks. This field spell really plays into how this deck works and well, and we'll go over that in a little minute. But before then, we're still not done with the name references. The upside down A might also be a mathematics reference, as the upside down A symbol is used for, bear with me, universal quantification as a logical constant representing for all in a set. That's gibberish to me, but not to the writer of the Alice in Wonderland books, because he wrote a bunch of mathematics books. It was a passion of his, so it's probably a reference to that. The moral of the story is, can you believe how many references and nods you can squeeze into just a short name of an archetype? And then we get the international version. We've lost a lot, and the reason why is kind of obvious. It'd be too bloody hard to search for the Malice archetype all the time, because my keyboard, I'll be completely frank with you all, it doesn't have an upside down letter A on there. But saying that, the Evil Twin archetype, they have a star in their name. They got to keep that. I don't have a star on my keyboard, so seems a bit unfair. Alternatively, probably the reason why they didn't just call it Malice is because there's a few cards already in the card game with Malice in their name. So they probably wanted to avoid having to be like, okay, you can't search those Malice cards. So rather than like a Frog the Jam situation, they're just like, oh, forget it. Let's just not go down that route. However, I will say, I think they could have done something a little bit more spicy with their name. They really want to sell it. So keep in mind, it's like a computer theme name in a way, isn't it? It has to have Alice in the reference as well. So why didn't we have M/Alice? Malice, that's like a computer thing. Or you could go with like a elite speak version of it. So M4L1C3 Malice. I don't know, I think they're kind of like spicy names to give it and kind of cool. So I'll let you all be the judge. What would you have called the Malice international name if you got to choose what it was? Let me know in the comment section below. The only defense we can give the name Alice is something that a Reddit post made me aware of. There is actually a bloodier, gorier rewrite of Alice's Adventures in Wonderland called Alice. Maybe this was what they were referencing? Who knows? Now, the way the archetype works is that they love banishment. They adore it. If any of the cards gets banished, they come straight back to the field. And some come back even stronger. The monsters are split into 2 rankings. The main deck monsters are the pawns, while the link monsters are the queens. If you get enough pawns on the field, you can promote them into a queen. This, while obviously a chess reference, is also a reference to the Alice in Wonderland books, because Alice goes from a pawn all the way up to a queen. But that's not all. A ruler needs its subjects. It needs its pawns to give it power. And with that, this deck also accomplishes it. If the pawns are summoned into zones the queens point to, they will empower them with extra abilities and protections, which you then use to just slam into your opponent and win the duel. So I think now would be a good time to go over the pawns and the queens, see what they are based on, what their malware association is. And let's start first with the main deck pawns. All pawns share 3 identical effects. A unique effect that they bestow to a Malice Link monster that points to them, an effect completely unique to them, and a special summon effect at the cost of 300 life points should they be banished. Individually, each of the monster's unique effects are, starting first with Malice Pawn Cheshire Cat. Any monster destroyed by a battle with a Malice Link monster that points to this card is banished. During your main phase, you can banish 1 Malice card from your hand, then you can draw 2 cards. Malice Pawn Dormouse. Malice Link monsters that point to this card cannot be destroyed by card effects. During your main phase, you can banish 1 Malice monster from your deck. Also, all Malice monsters you control will gain 600 attack this turn. Malice Pawn White Rabbit. You take no battle damage from battles involving Malice Link monsters that point to this card. If this card is normal or special summoned, you can set 1 Malice trap from your deck with a different name from the cards in your graveyard. In terms of references, well, what are these cards? Well, Malice Cheshire Cat is a cross between the Cheshire Cat character and the malware called Black Cat. Black Cat malware is a ransomware that encrypts victims' data, and then it will ask for a ransom, give me some money, or if you don't, you won't get all your data back. That's what the Black Cat malware is. Malice Dormouse is a cross between the Dormouse character and the malware called Mousejack. Mousejack malware is where somebody will intercept the wireless signals from your wireless mouse or wireless keyboard and control it as if it was their own. They can then go into all your computers, steal all your data, do whatever they want because they've got control of your computer. Malice White Rabbit is a cross between the White Rabbit character and the malware called Bad Rabbit. Now, Bad Rabbit malware is a very specific instance of a ransomware that occurred in the past. Basically what happened was there was this Adobe Flash update, what looked like the real deal. When people clicked it, they actually installed this virus into their computer. And basically what it would do was encrypt all of your files and then ask for Bitcoin in return for getting your stuff back. Moving on next to the Queen Link monsters. These come in 2 categories, the playing card queens and the chess queens. So far, we only have the 1 playing card queen, Malice Queen Hearts of Crypta. This monster is a cross between the Queen of Hearts character and the malware called Crypta. Crypta malware basically disguises itself as a legitimate file or application on your computer, and then once it's got past the antivirus, because it's stealthed itself basically, just unloads all this ransomware into your computer to basically get money off you or whatever they want to do. Hearts of Crypta's effect is it requires 3 monsters, including a Malice monster, to be summoned. Quick effect, you can target one of your banished Malice cards, shuffle it into the deck, and if you do, banish 1 card on the field. This effect's activation and effect cannot be negated if this card points to a monster. If this card is banished, you can pay 900 life points, special summon this card, and if you do, its attack becomes double. Something cheeky you can do with this card. You can use its effect to banish itself, it will use its other effect to bring itself back to the field, and it will come back with twice as much as attack, which you can then probably slam into your opponent and go for game, just a little bit quicker. Kinda cool. Next, we have the pair of opposing chess queens. These queens are actually based on rivals in the book, and as such, this rivalry has been shown through the actual cards. Their artworks, their link arrows are reverses of each other. Their effects, their attack, they're all very, very similar, but their effects are just slightly different. But it's just kind of cool how they can show a rivalry just through the look of the cards. Anyway, the first is Maliss Queen Red Ransom. This monster is a cross between the Red Queen character and the malware called ransomware. Ransomware we've actually talked about a lot today, but it's just essentially where you encrypt people's data, demand money for you to unencrypt it. Red Ransom's effect is that it requires 2+ monsters, including a Maliss monster, to be summoned. While this card points to a monster, switch the original attack and defense of all effect monsters your opponent controls. If this card is special summoned, you can add 1 Maliss spell from your deck to your hand. If this card is banished, you can pay 900 life points, special summon this card. Then you can banish 1 Cyberse monster from your deck. Maliss Queen Whitebinder. This monster is a cross between the White Queen character and the malware called Filebinder. Filebinder is a type of malware that combines a bunch of different folders together into one, essentially to hide the viruses inside of it, to make it undetected to the antivirus software. And then essentially, like everything else, once it's through, just unleash all the viruses into the computer. Whitebinder's effects are, it requires 2 or more monsters, including a Maliss monster, to be summoned. If this card is special summoned, you can target up to 3 cards in any graveyard, banish them. During your main phase, you can set 1 Maliss trap from your deck or graveyard. If this card is banished, you can pay 900 life points, special summon this card, and you can draw 1 card. I'd just like to note that the Red Queen uses her pawns to attack, whereas the White Queen has kind of like a time motif to her weaponry, and that is actually because in the books, the White Queen is said to exist in reverse. And for those that might be confused on the fact that these 2 monsters are different monsters, yet they think they're the same monster, they're not. Outside of in-archetype monsters, we actually have 1 support monster that came out quite a bit before these. It appeared in Battle of Chaos 2 years ago, but it is a part of this archetype, appears in the artworks of the cards in this archetype, and supports them really well. That was forward thinking. This monster is Mad Hacker, a cross between the Mad Hatter character and a hacker. A hacker is usually the person that's putting all of these malwares and viruses into your computer typically. Its effect is if a monster is special summoned to your opponent's field, except during the damage step, you can special summon this card from your hand. During the end phase, you can banish this card you control, take control of 1 monster your opponent controls with the lowest attack, your choice if tied. But while it's face up on the field, it cannot activate its effects. Also, you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck, except Link monsters. After this, we have 3 traps in the archetype. They all share the same effect, that they can be activated on the turn that they are set by banishing a Maliss monster from your side of the field. In terms of what you get for activating them, well, Maliss code GWC6, special summon 1 Maliss monster from your graveyard or banishment. Then, if you control a Maliss Link monster, you can gain life points equal to the summon monster's original attack. Maliss code MTP7, add 1 Maliss monster from your deck to your hand. Then, if you control a Maliss Link monster, you can banish 1 card on the field. Maliss code TB11, special summon 1 Maliss monster from your deck. Or if your opponent controls 3 or more cards, you can special summon 1 Maliss Link monster from your extra deck instead. The summoned monster cannot attack or activate its effects this turn. What do the codes mean in these cards' name, I hear you ask? Well, the numbers refer to chapters in the book, and the letters are acronyms of phrases found in those chapters. Grin without a cat, Mad Tea Party, 3 blasts. And with that, that's the Maliss archetype done. Want to watch a video on whatever I'm showing here? You're more than welcome to. But I reckon you'd rather watch this one right here on whatever that video is showing right there. You can watch that one instead if you want to. Thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed the video. Catch you later.